The following program is underwritten in part by World's Best Cat Litter. You love your cat, but you don't love the litter box mess. Switch to World's Best Cat Litter and get a cleaner litter box with less hassle and less litter. Find it at Target, Walmart, and in your local grocery and pet stores. The following program is also underwritten in part by Viagen Pets, the leading provider of animal genetic preservation and cloning services. Preserve the genes of your dog or cat to extend the special bond you share with them. Get your free information kit and special offer for Animal Radio listeners at www.viagenpets.com. That's VIAGEN Pets.com.
Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
And welcome. Here is the toll-free number, 1-866-405-8405. If you have questions about your pet's medical health, we have Dr. Debbie here to answer those questions. And grooming questions for Joey Villani, the dog father, also here. And if you just want to call and say hi, check in, tell us how things are going for you, we'd love to hear from you. 1-866-405-8405. Don't forget, you can also ask your questions from the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. Download that puppy now. And I can tell you so many reasons to download it. There was another recall this week. It's a food recall, not a big brand, but if it's a brand that you feed your animals, it means a lot to you. You need to know about this kind of stuff. So whenever there's a recall and you have the Animal Radio app, a notification goes out and tells you what's wrong, who's recalling the food.
Pretty cool.
It is. Another reason to download the free Animal Radio app, as well as asking your questions from the app. On today's show, if you ever watched Mad TV or King of Queens, or really dozens of other programs where Nicole Sullivan was acting.
She's funny.
She's very funny. She's a little blonde gal from...
She was a dog walker.
She was a dog walker on King of Queens. How appropriate. She's going to be joining us today. I'm looking forward to this. She's a very funny gal, and she's doing an event with the Kitty Bungalow, the charm school for wayward cats.
Yes, we've had them on before.
Yeah, we have, and they have some really original ideas for raising money for the cats. Also, the creator of PetFinder.com, which, may I say, is probably the biggest and most well-known adoption site on the internet.
Yes, it is.
Betsy Saul, she will be joining us. She has a brand new website, and we're going to talk to her in just a few minutes. Lori, what do you got going on?
Well, we usually think about, invisible fences and that kind of containment system for pets, for dogs, right? But now they've done a study on using an invisible fence or underground fence with cats, and we'll tell you what the final opinion is on that.
Okay, I didn't know cats could be trained to anything, so I'd love to.
You never know.
That's on the way. Let's go to the phones for your calls first. And let's go to line 4 where we have Russ. Hey, Russ, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from a suburb of New Orleans. I'm right outside New Orleans, and a place that I just moved to about 7 or 8 months ago. I sold my home in New Orleans, and I moved into an apartment complex where my sister lived, and they had many cats here. And someone was feeding these cats from about a half a block away because it's against the law. Against the rules of the apartment managers. They have cats in the apartments, and the owner found out about it, and they're really mad, and they're trying, and they threaten to evict anyone who would help feed or give the cats water or anything.
Wow.
Now, and they have a number of kittens, about 2 months old, and I was wondering if you can tell me, will the kittens, I think the older ones will, but will the kittens find another food source before they die?
Hard to say. I mean, that's really, taking away suddenly a food source to an assisted colony like that can create a hardship for them. So the big concern would be does that add undue stress to their health plane? And does that mean they're going to be more likely to succumb to infectious disease or parasites or what have you if they're really struggling or they don't have that, food source that they become accustomed to? So, that's rough. I would certainly hope someone else in the nearby area could take over for them. And the thing I would encourage you to do is, at least in most communities, when we have trap and release programs in the areas, like in the Las Vegas area where I'm at, you actually can register colonies. And that basically means not that you take responsibility for like every cat, but it basically just means, okay, we know we have a population of cats in this area, and you register with them, usually through organizations related to the shelter systems. Mm-hmm. And that can be a benefit, because it can, if you can't participate in this, you can maybe find someone in the nearby area who can take care of this colony. And that may even mean that can help bring in financial resources, because at least in my area, when you register a cat colony, then that brings them into the opportunities to get the trapping, where they get spayed and neutered and they get vaccinations, and then they get released. So if we get these kitties, if they're not already in a program like that, then you might find someone else who can take that role, and then ensure that they're not getting the cutoff in their resources that they've come to kind of count on at this point.
This animal community thing, is there a name they go by? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, I would just kind of Google in your area as far as cat colony registration, with your locale. And in our area, it's done by the county, I believe, on the county basis. But it really depends on how your animal sheltering system's broken down, if it's by a citywide basis or county.
Yes. I called the SPCA, and after 5 days, the one nearest me euthanizes the cats, and I can't go for that.
Yeah, and we're not looking for that.
Before I would have anybody involved.
And that's not what these kitties need. As feral cats, the adults are likely not going to be adoptable in the true sense of the word. The kittens might, and certainly getting them into one of these systems, then they can have an opportunity to get socialized and used to being around people on that basis. But the adults, we wouldn't. If you took them to a shelter, their behavior would be that of a feral cat, and they probably would be euthanized, unless they're kind of in this kind of situation where we have a trap and release.
I'm bringing you a step further. If I can just ask you one more thing.
Sure.
I'm being threatened to be evicted if I help the cats anymore. If I can't find any other source of helping them, what are the chances of these younger kittens, who are about 2 months old, they're not that young, what are the chances of them finding another food source? Is that too likely at all? Because I'm willing to take the gamble of helping them. I'm going to have to get a lawyer to defend me on this issue, because these cats have been here for years. And I've talked to apartment administration people, and they said because the landlord allowed these cats to stay here these many years, she cannot really evict anyone for helping them on the property. But if I do help them, I want to be prepared to help them only because there's no other way. So what are the chances of these younger kittens of finding another food source if I can't find any other place like you're referring to?
Yeah, that's hard to answer. I honestly can't say. It really depends on the neighbors in the area, and if they start hanging around somebody else's house, is someone else going to feed them, or are they going to be limited?
Cats can only go a few days without water and 2 weeks without food, and nobody around here, and they still hanging around my apartment. Yeah. And I'm just thinking the worst, that they're starving and starving. I've been giving them still water, but I'm afraid to keep feeding them because they won't leave my they won't go somewhere else. But I've been giving them water, but it seems to me they're not getting fed, and every day that goes by, their lives are in danger. So you're not sure of the situation. I guess what you're saying, the older they are, the greater the possibility of them finding another place to go. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, well, I think just kind of having the adult cats there to kind of lead the way, because they're going to kind of follow their lead. And don't forget that, feral cats also, they hunt. So if they're learning those skills from the other adult cats. Now, as a resident or someone in that neighborhood, I would far rather see feral cat colonies fed than saying, okay, let's just let them fend for themselves, get into garbage, and kill off all the local birds. I would rather say, as a landlord, this is going to be a better solution to this problem. And if we could get a local animal health authority in, maybe that will help to control the population. Because once you spay and neuter these guys,
but they have been spayed and neutered, and not the kids, but the others have.
Okay, well that's good.
Let me, if I can. I know I'm taking them a lot of time, but if we can help me with this, maybe you can. You could just say goodbye then. Are there any legal help? Is there any legal help to defend these cats that I could go to? Is there any kind of type of an attorney that could help defend these lives of these cats. There's about a dozen of them.
I know we've had some lawyers that specialize in animal law, so you may have someone in your area. I don't know, Hal, Judy, do you remember the individual we had?
The Animal Legal Defense Fund comes to mind immediately, and doing an internet or a Google search for the Animal Legal Defense Fund might help you at least find a lawyer who can say if you have any traction whatsoever.
Okay, Animal Legal Defense Fund. Okay, thank you so much. I'm just going to hope the best and see if I can get some additional help. Thank you for your time.
Yes, we wish you the best of luck. Keep us posted. Let us know how this goes.
All right, I will. I've grown very attached to these cats, and they're the most. They don't fight with one another. They're the most dear creatures that I've seen around in a long time. I hate to see them die, so I'll let you know.
Okay, we appreciate what you're doing. Toll free 1-866-405-8405 to reach out to the Dream Team.
Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Alan Cable with today's amazingly sweet love story watch.
It goes.
Owen's getting a little kiss from his dog. He's 7 years old. This is a story of how one little boy and a dog changed each other's lives. Owen has an illness that causes his muscles to constantly be tense, so it's very difficult for him to move around and do simple things. It's made him very shy and withdrawn. Well, some folks were searching for someone to adopt a dog named Hachi. He's a big Italian shepherd that only has 3 legs.
Hachi got hit by a train and then came to us.
Owen says it was a magical meeting.
First day I met him, put his head on my lap, and that's what happened.
Owen's family says he's a different kid with Hachi there, much more outgoing.
I'm really happy. Everything changed my life.
This is
Animal Radio, baby.
Dogs or cats, horse or emu, animals are people too. You know what they say, if you don't vote, you can't complain. Well, don't tell that to Toby. A New Zealand dog owner got in a lot of trouble for filling out a voter registration form for Toby, his Jack Russell Terrier. Peter Rhodes of Queenstown says he was just trying to make a point about government bureaucracy. But the bureaucrats aren't laughing. A local official said Rhodes may face criminal charges for voter fraud, even though Toby didn't even vote in the recent national election. Toby signed his voter's registration form with a paw print, and his occupation was listed as rodent exterminator. I'm Britt Savage for Animal Radio. Animals are people too. Animal Radio.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. Canine Caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio. Hey, thanks for joining us. Go grab your pet, bring them around the radio. They enjoy the show, too. I think. Maybe. The animals in the studio right now, they're actually asleep. I think the show calms them and makes them sleepy.
They come in here for their weekly nap. Yeah,
hopefully you're not doing the same thing. This hour, we're going to be talking to Betsy Saul. Who is she, you say? Well, you've heard of the website Pet Finder, right? I mean, who hasn't? It is probably the utmost authority on adoption. Probably the first one.
I found my dog on Pet Finder.
Really?
Yes,
Did you?
I did.
She started that a little over 2 decades ago, a little under 2 decades ago, and we actually started at about the same time, and it was a pretty small little website. I remember when we started, it was just a little baby website. It soon transformed into something bigger than life, and is really her legacy, her first legacy. She's now working on her second legacy, which is a new website called 911fosterpets.com. And what it is it's a site looking for foster parents to take care of animals between the time that they enter the shelter and they get adopted. So if you're one of those people that likes fostering animals, you're going to love this website, and she'll be telling us about it in just a couple of minutes right here on Animal Radio. Also, next hour, Nicole Sullivan, actress and comedian Nicole Sullivan from Mad TV and King of Queens, the little blonde bombshell. Very funny gal. She loves the animals, and she's doing something very special for the animals. We're going to find out what that is coming up in just a few minutes. But first, we're going to go to the phones. Toll-free, 1-866-405-8405. And doing a check of news right after that. What are you working on over there in the newsroom?
Well, usually when you talk about mice, it's like, eek, a mouse. In this case, it would be, oh my God, an enormous rodent. 120-pound rodent in the news.
I heard about this.
That's big.
I can't believe they actually call this a rodent. What makes a rodent, Dr. Debbie?
What makes it? It's just the category of the animal that it's derived from. But yeah, this kind of critter, we actually have a couple that come to my office, and they are kind of cool. It's like a mix between a pig and a mouse. It's really cool.
What Lori will be telling you about seems to be something that's picking up interest across the country, and I don't want to say a fad because I hate animal fads, but there are a lot of people that are starting to get this kind of animal. And we'll find out about it in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. Ready to go to the phones? Can we do that? Oh, by the way, Robert Semro with 5 fall seasonal dangers next hour.
Okay, now let's go to the phones.
Hi, Bob. How are you doing?
Oh, not too bad.
What's on your mind?
My dog, 2 years old, lab mix, around her tail, she's been chewing on it, scratching and all that. She's got it raw with the hair missing.
Okay.
And I'm wondering is because of her food or what?
You said she's losing hair. Is that at like her rump area, right in front of the tail?
All around the tail and
all around
the
the
rump.
tail. Like actually on the tail itself.
Not really just on the tail, but where the tail joins the body.
Okay. In that vicinity. And is the rest of her fur okay? Any other patterns?
No, that's the only bare spot she has.
How old is she?
She's 2.
2 years old. Okay. Well, you're just getting into the fun quieting down years for Labradors.
Oh, she's a lot of fun, yeah. She keeps me out of trouble.
Well, I just laugh because I have 2 Labradors and one's perpetually a 2-year-old. So, but so with her having that itchiness, does it seem better, worse at any time of the year, or has it been kind of an ongoing issue?
It just started like maybe 2 weeks ago, where she started, digging at it and scratching and chewing and all that.
Okay. In that area on the kind of the rump right in front of the tail, that's a prime area for fleas and for flea dermatitis. So I would definitely want to make sure that we're addressing really vigilant flea control, because even one little bite from those critters can send a dog with a flea allergy into the itchies for weeks. So that would be one of the first things I'd want to make sure that we're doing a good flea program with shampoos. There's different topical meds. And you can kind of lift up the hair, and if you kind of push the hair backwards, sometimes you can actually see evidence of fleas, and that may be what we call flea dirt, where you see looks like pepper almost under the hair coat. So that might give us a clue that we need to really work on that flea control.
I haven't seen a flea on her.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, the only place you can see is on her belly, but I haven't seen any, scurrying across her belly at all.
Yeah, and it can be hard. I mean, these little guys the fleas are pretty tiny, so, you might not see them, but, look for that flea dirt. If you see that and you don't see any critters, it means they're still there. Now, outside of fleas, there's a lot of other things we could be looking at. And Labrador is our dog that we see a lot of problems with allergies and skin-related problems of all sorts. So anything from yeast infection in Labradors is very common, but allergies where they're just having almost like a hypersensitivity, where they're scratching, they're itching. It tends to be in more than just one area. So I would want to make sure that we're looking at that area. If we see any kind of redness, any kind of crusting, anything yellow, then we really want to make sure we get a sample of that, because sometimes we'll add in antibiotics. and yeast medicine, things along those lines if there's an infection. For itching, for mild itching, for allergies, I'm a fan of using, antihistamines. And you'd want to, talk to your veterinarian about the right dosage and so forth. But that would be something like doggy Benadryl. And then ultimately, we might even look at her diet. It's a little less common to have just an all of a sudden problem with a food allergy. But for some dogs, and Labradors are a breed, we can see food allergies where it's things that they eat that actually cause their skin to itch. And it seems kind of crazy, but that is the case in dogs.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Fido Friendly Magazine presents the 8th annual month-long pet adoption tour, Get Your Licks on Route 66. On the road from September through October. Along with media sponsor Animal Radio and companion sponsors Turf Mutt and Evercare, we travel in our Mercedes Sprinter, provided by Sprinter Rentals from LA to Chicago, stopping at shelters along the way to support adoption events. Our community sponsors, John Paul Pet, Zeus Pet Toys, Pet Curian, Well Pet, Tito's Vodka, and Vet's Best go along for the ride, while we bring our giant spinning wheel filled with prizes you can win. Log on to Get Your Licks on Route66.com to find out where the tour stops near you. You can help raise money for your shelter, and you might just find your new forever friend.
People say less is more. At Red Barn, we think less is better. It's what you won't find that sets our natural premium pet food apart. No byproducts, no corn or soy, no fillers. Just the natural ingredients your pets need to live the healthy life they deserve. Look at the label. We want you to. Red Barn Naturals Pet Food. Simply the best. Find it in your local pet specialty store. Red Barn canned food for cats and dogs is grain and gluten-free.
This is an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Fear Free. Fear Free takes the pet out of petrified and puts the treat into treatment. To learn more and find a certified Fear Free veterinary professional near you, visit fearfreepets.com.
Hi, I'm Lori Brooks. There's a new study out by some animal welfare specialists that shows using electronic containment systems to restrict where pet cats go does not result in long-term problems for their well-being. Of course, you remember the use of handheld shock collars on dogs had previously led to concerns over the welfare of pets trained using the so-called e-collars. Now, however, other forms of electronic training devices for pets have not received as much attention from researchers until now. These include invisible or virtual fences, which deliver a static electric pulse to deter an animal from crossing a boundary like the edge of your property or your back or your front yard. Well, a new study into these systems by the researchers at University of Lincoln in the UK found no evidence of long-term problems in cats living with these underground fences compared to control cats that were able to roam freely in and out of their owners' yards. While some people argue that electronic containment systems can never be justified for pets, other research shows that hundreds of thousands of cats are killed and injured on roads each year, and these devices can help to prevent that. So consider this. Unlike owner-operated handheld electronic training devices, invisible fences, they say, depend purely on the cat's behavior for any correction and not human judgment. So in other words, there's not going to be a human on this end of what they might term a punishment, pushing a little beeper thing. Modern devices train the cats to associate a warning beep instead with the location of the invisible fence. Therefore, animals may be able to quickly and efficiently learn appropriate avoidance techniques and behaviors without having that horrible anxiety or fear, that they're going to be shocked. Thank you, Roro. Shortly after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan 5 years ago, residents who lived near the plant were immediately evacuated, of course, because of the risk of radiation exposure. But did you know they were forced to leave their pets behind? Wow. Now, that's because residents were assured they would be back home in a day or so and that their pets would be okay. So they left them. They really didn't have a choice. Fortunately, a man named Akira Honda, his nickname is Taicho, raced to the disaster area when it happened and immediately recognized there was going to be a huge need for an animal shelter near the radiation-contaminated exclusion zone. Now, just a month after the disaster back then, he established the Nyander Guard Animal Rescue about 25 miles away from where the disabled nuclear site was. So far, that rescue, they have pulled 740 dogs and cats, that is, to safety, and they currently still care for more than about 200 other animals. Now, obviously, all the dogs and cats that were there at the time during the nuclear disaster had been exposed to radiation. But think about this. Unless you had a really high amount of radiation, the animal, that is, in a pretty short amount of time, it really does not affect them until about 30 years later. Yeah, I see. You're getting this now. And they don't live that long. So saving all of the animals at that time was absolutely the right thing to do. So now back at the ranch, or the shelter as the case is here, cats are able to roam in cat rooms while bigger dogs have spacious kennels and smaller dogs are kept indoors. And the dogs there in Japan now at the rescue center are walked twice a day, sometimes even taken on trips to parks. And although 5 years have passed since the Fukushima nuclear disaster, the shelter still rescues and feeds abandoned animals in the restricted and abandoned areas. Well, the word rodent applies to me anyway. Kind of ugly, unwanted little creatures that sneak into your home and freak out a lot of us. Of course, many rodents are typically met by, and I don't agree with this either, the lethal trap or the stickiness of traps. But that is not always the case. There are people who have pet rodents. For example, there is a 120-pound rodent in Texarkana. That's right. You weren't hearing things. A 120-pound rodent in Texarkana. He is genuinely loved. He is hugged and even given home-cooked meals every day. His name is Chico, and he's a capybara, a species that National Geographic says is the world's largest living rodent. And only about a dozen or fewer of them are kept as pets in the United States, and they do require specialized veterinary care. But luckily for Chico, he is part of Texas A&M's research team, which keeps records on his growth and health, because they're pretty unique here. The semi-aquatic critters are natives, really, of South American places like Argentina and Brazil, Bolivia, and Ecuador, but Chico is here in Texas. His owner got Chico when he was just 10 days old. But still, he's 10 days old, and he weighed about 4 pounds already. Wow. Now, 2-year-old Chico is about 120 pounds, and he will continue to grow until he is 6 years old. Chico's owner says he kind of looks like a gerbil on steroids, since this is radio and we need to paint a picture for you. And despite his size, Chico, this 120-pound rodent, is afraid of his fur sibling, a Chihuahua. And Chico, by the way, is also pretty unique in that his best friend is another sibling, animal sibling, a mini pig named Darla. And Chico kind of thinks that Darla is his pet.
Yeah,
but they have a lot of fun.
Chico has his own YouTube channel, and because of his YouTube channel, more and more people are starting to make these their pets, the capybara. They look like a really...
A gerbil on steroids?
Exactly.
Yeah, they do look like gerbil on steroids, actually.
I'm Lori Brooks. Get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Fear Free. The veterinarian isn't typically thought of as your pet's favorite place to go. With Fear Free, that all changes. To learn more and find a certified Fear Free veterinary professional near you, visit fearfreepets.com.
Hi friends, this is Dr. Marty Becker, America's veterinarian. As you know, going to the vet can be a traumatic experience for your pet, but it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, vet visits can be something your pet looks forward to. Introducing Fear Free. When your veterinarian is Fear Free certified, you will be assured your pet's vet visit is more free of fear, anxiety, and stress than ever before. Fear Free takes the pet out of petrified and it puts the treat into treatment. To find a certified Fear Free veterinarian near you, go to fearfreepets.com.
Well, every year we get to participate along with Fido Friendly Magazine in the Get Your Licks on Route 66 Adoption Tour. This is all very exciting for us because we see so many animals get adopted from this event, and Susan Sims, the lucky one who gets to travel all the way across the country on Route 66, doing this for her 8th year in a row. God bless you.
Oh, thank you. My husband Greg and I are so lucky we get to do this, and of course we bring our 2 directors of marketing, Junior and Jake, along with us, and we get them over at a daycare so that they can play. They're at Paradise for Paws, where there's a bone-shaped swimming pool. So they have quite the life while we're working to help save our pets.
While you're working, and what does your work consist of?
Well, it's really a lot of work. People may not realize. I think it's a lot of fun. We get in our Sprinter, provided by Sprinter Rentals, and go across country every year. But just getting set up will take us over an hour and a half. Our giant spinning wheel alone weighs 50 pounds, and Greg it's so tough to do this, but he calls himself the schlepper. So he brings that in, and we have about 3 or 4 tables that we set up with all the wonderful products donated each year by our sponsors. And then once people start arriving, we set up our donation box and start having them donate money and spin the wheel. So then, of course, we're there for 4 to 6 hours, and then we have to tear down. So, we've got quite a long day just to set up at each of these events, and we have 15 events each year.
That's a lot, but you're almost done. You're within the last 4 events right now, it appears. Today, you're in Chicago at Paws Chicago from 11 to 4.
Yeah, we partner with Paws every year, and with such a fabulous organization. It's a no-kill shelter, and that's something that people might kind of pay attention to now when they do go for adopting, because sometimes people think, oh, well, it's a no-kill, let me go adopt from a kill shelter, and what happens, it costs a lot more money to be a no-kill shelter, so that's worthy of people's attention. But what's so fantastic about being here today is they have kind of a storefront. It's really interesting, and it's in a business section where people are traveling back and forth. But the kittens, they have windows where you can look in at the kittens playing in the sunshine, and we just get a kick out of that every year because these cats, they have people come in and sit with the cats in rocking chairs and just hold them or play with them, and it's just a really fun environment.
And I want that job.
Tomorrow you're going to be at the Animal Protection League in Springfield, Illinois, from noon to 4, right?
Yeah, that's a good one as well. This is an outdoor event, and it's held out by Shields Sporting Goods, and it's been a really good venue the last couple of years for us. A lot of people coming in and out of the stores, and when they find out what we're trying to do and just get out the word to adopt, don't shop. If nothing else, we have people that are donating money. They may not want to adopt that day, but they certainly are welcome to come out tomorrow and take a look and see what kind of animals we have there.
How awesome. And then next weekend, you'll be in Kansas City and Merriam, Kansas. And if people want to learn more about that, they can head to the website at FidoFriendly.com to see all of the tour dates and all of the information about the Get Your Licks on Route 66 tour.
Yep, that'll wind us up, and we'll head on home back to Idaho and rest up for next year.
Yeah, I know that as soon as you finish this up, you start again working on next year. So I really commend you. I bow to you. Even though you have the best job here, I say you're doing a great job and a lot of hard work.
Thank you.
And Greg.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, and Greg, too.
Give Greg a big old hug from all of us. He's really doing a lot. Like you say, he's the schlepper. He's doing a lot of the work.
And you guys are welcome to come out and schlep with us next year.
Oh, we'd love to do that.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics, canine caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Animal Radio, celebrating the connection with our pets. We'll go back to the phones toll free at 1-866-405-8405 in just a couple of minutes, but I want to visit with an old friend. And in fact, this young lady, when we started, she started a little website called petfinder.com.
Just a little
website then. Yeah. And it turned into something really tremendous. And it is, as far as I'm concerned, probably the foremost pet adoption website that there is and ever has been. And she's on to something new. We welcome to the show Betsy Saul. Hi, Betsy. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you guys?
Oh, splendid. Doing great. So you have a brand new project called 911 Foster Pets. What's that all about?
Well, there were several of us that were working with Petfinder, and over the many years, so we were so gratified in the public's response, and I think that it's fair to say that we really raised the awareness about all of the amazing animals in shelters over that 15-year period.
Yep.
Before I was ready to move on to the next thing and tackle the next problem, because I became frustrated with the pets that were never really. I don't want to say left behind, because that suggests that nobody cares about them, and I think that the entire animal welfare community does care about all these pets. But the pets that never make it to adoption row, the pets that, because they're newborn or because they're old or because they just need a little extra time before they're transported to another facility, don't ever get any kind of exposure. And so at Petfinder, obviously, we couldn't say, hey, this pet at this rescue organization or this shelter is more valuable than that pet just because it's short on time. We couldn't, those pets always got kind of left behind in terms of our ability to really market them. So after a few years of not working on Petfinder and having my fingers in some other things, I would find that when I was waking up at night, it was those guys that really bugged me. When people would talk about how gratifying Petfinder must have been, I would say, yeah, but I remember going to this animal shelter and taking a tour, and we got to this back room, and about as many animals were in this back facility as were in the front of the facility. And I said, well, what are these guys? And they said, oh, well, these are the guys that are waiting, and about 25% of these animals make it up to adoption row, and they actually called it adoption row. Jeez. And I just remember feeling kind of head swirly and like maybe I was going to throw up, because there were all these amazing animals, and so much of it is just about timing or luck, or you know how it is.
Yes, and so these are animals that are they could be sick, or they could be what are the maladies that keeps them from being adopted?
Right now on 911 Foster Pets, we've got two groups of animals in more quantity than any other, and they are number one, animals that are under 8 weeks of age. So these are either moms that are about to have puppies or kittens, or batches of kittens and puppies that have no business being in a shelter, and everyone knows that, and so we need to get them out of the shelter. They're urgent by virtue of the fact that they need socialization in a different way than they can get in a shelter.
Sure.
And also because they're at risk, right? There's an at-risk population, and so for disease and things like that, they need to be out of the shelter. The other group of pets are pets that, because I think, to toot our own horn, because we've been so amazing in animal welfare at doing what we do, there are now all these transports and rescues state to state, and these partnerships between the foster-based groups and the shelters. But the timing is everything, right? And so we may have an animal that's identified in Dallas who somebody is willing to foster in Missouri, but the transport for that, the person that's going to drive that pet from one place to another and it may be a purebred poodle, and it's trying to get the poodle rescue, right? But we need a week, because the time is up at the shelter a week before the transport's available. Right. Well, that's a really short-term foster need, right? And who wouldn't stand up and say, hey, that poodle can come and crash at my pad for a week? That's just so reasonable, and there are so many of us and so many people who aren't even in animal welfare who would be like, oh, yeah, that would be totally cool. Think of graduate students who would long to have a pet but really can't commit, Mm-hmm. So, and it's all just a matter of timing and in some cases luck, right? Like here's a pet, that we can see on the site who is lucky by all standards. There's someone in another state that stood up and said they can come live with me for a while.
Sure.
Or I'll adopt them, but I can't get there for a week.
So all of the animals that we're going to find at 911 Foster Pets are obviously animals that need that transitional period to adoption. So they're not ready for adoption, but they're close to it.
Well, I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that we don't mind the idea of some foster failures. You know?
Yeah, well, you know what? That's my problem is that when I foster an animal, I cannot part with it after that. I become a foster failure, and I bet that maybe there's a high percentage of people who foster animals that are foster failures.
I failed twice.
Well, I'm looking around the studio here, and I see that, Joey, you have a foster failure, don't you? You have 2 foster failures. Lori, how many do you have?
1, 2. Sunday just went to her new home yesterday.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
Oh,
good.
wow. And we don't foster here because we know automatically we're failures. But
we know that's going to happen, but it's certainly more than reasonable to think that we should, before we make a lifetime commitment to a pet, want to have an experience where we get to know that pet and make sure it's a good fit for the family, right? There's so many people get a pet and the pet ends up in a shelter later because it wasn't a good fit.
Right.
So I think fostering is a perfectly beautiful way to try pets on for size.
Well, I wish we had more time to talk with you today. You're doing wonderful work as usual, and I wish you the same success with this website as, of course, you did with Pet Finder. Betsy Saul, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's so nice to hear from you guys, like old friends, like a reunion.
It is. We're going to head back to the phones for your calls. Toll free, 1-866-405-8405 right now for Dr. Debbie and Joey Villani.
How strong is Allegra D?
It's my congestion's out of my way strong. Even in the park playing with my dogs. Go fetch, Bosley.
Allegra D, a fast, non-drowsy antihistamine plus a powerful decongestant that starts relieving your toughest allergy symptoms in under 1 hour.
Allegra D is breathing free for 24 hours strong, even in the convertible.
Allegra D, strong relief for your allergy symptoms, guaranteed or your money back. Visit Allegra.com. Use only as directed.
Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
And we'll head back to the phones in just a couple of seconds here. The number's toll-free, 1-866-405-8405. And don't forget, you can also ask your questions from the free Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android, an app you should have, you must have, especially if you want to be warned about those recalls. Whenever they happen, you'll get an immediate notification. And if you have a question, like in the middle of the night about your animal, you can reach out to us. Not that we'll answer in the middle of the night, but as soon as we get it, it'll be there for us, and we'll get right back to you because we that's what we do. That's how we roll here. On the show this hour, Nicole Sullivan, actress and comedian Nicole Sullivan, will be joining us. If you're not familiar with her, maybe you watched King of Queens. She's the dog walker, the little blonde bombshell. And I've been assured that I can say blonde bombshell.
Yeah. I don't think that's derogatory.
She's a little cutie and she's funny. She's a catch, but she is married, and I understand she has a bunch of animals.
Uh-oh.
She was also on Mad TV. You remember?
Yeah, I
that was
remember.
actually before, I think, King of Queens.
Oh gosh, yeah, I'm a big fan of the King of Queens show. I like that, and just how she takes care of Arthur. It's just it's so fun.
She actually is paid to walk Arthur along with the dog too.
Yes, Carrie's father.
So you do remember all the characters' names. You're not.
Oh, I
you're
do,
not messing with me
absolutely.
here. Well, she'll be on. She is involved with an organization called the Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats, and it's an LA organization that takes care of feral cats and actually socializing feral cats. A great organization
Make
to
them
have.
adopted. Yeah.
We had a call earlier about feral cats. It's too bad that this kind of organization doesn't exist. What was it, in Baton Rouge, the guy was calling from?
North of New Orleans, yeah.
But she's doing an event, the Cat Beret, not Cabaret, but Cat Beret, with, a bunch of great actors. I'm not the hippest guy. I can tell you I know Fred Willard. He's a good friend of Animal Radio. Elaine Hendricks, also a good friend. Hal Sparks, it seems like I've heard his name before. Keith David and Jamie Ray Newman, also involved with this is Cat Beret. They gave us that list of any one of those celebrities we wanted to talk to. And since we've had Fred and Elaine on before and I didn't know anybody else, I figured let's get Nicole on. And she'll be joining us this hour. Very funny lady with many, many animals and a great devotion towards the animals. Lori Brooks, also someone who has a great devotion to animals, and you just adopted Sunday?
No, actually, I was fostering Sunday, and Sunday, after some tears and a very sad day yesterday for me, Sunday went to her forever home yesterday morning.
Aw, that's great.
Sorry, that's sad for you.
It is. My motto is usually, okay, you got to move the fosters out so you can take the next one, but I am so partial to senior animals.
You are. You've been trying to convince
Sunday was
me.
8. It's such a neat thing when your foster goes to a home. It's kind of like your child marrying up, so to speak.
Yeah.
She's going to live way better than I do.
Good.
Very happy for her.
She was with you for what, 5, 6 weeks, 7 weeks?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. Wow.
8 weeks.
Yeah, I would get. Yeah. That would be very hard for me to do. I would be a foster failure for sure in that kind of situation.
Yeah, you can do that. And it would have been fine with me if I was, because she was so adorable. But, it's nice for her to have the opportunity to become the only dog and get all the attention and, all the spoils.
And now you have room for another one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Any plans?
Not at the moment. We're getting ready to do our biggest fundraiser of the year. And so we're probably going to have to wait until after that, because taking 4 dogs to one hotel room gets to be a little crazy.
Now, where is your fundraiser?
We do the Sea Witch Festival. We do on the Rebound Bulldog Rescue, and we do the Sea Witch Festival, which is at the end of this month. Always the last weekend in October at Rehoboth Beach in Delaware.
Oh, wow. If people want to learn more about that, is there a website they can go to?
Yeah, you can go to On the Rebound Bulldog Rescue, or you can go to the Sea Witch Festival. And the really fun part about it is that we have a pretty well-known bulldog kissing booth. And
I love it.
It's a little
That's
yellow
fun.
house front, and we set the bulldogs up there, and it's $1 for a kiss.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah,
okay.
it is.
Judy, can we put links to all of that over at the website at animalradio.com?
Yes.
Just in case you're in the
I love you
Delaware
guys.
area. What are you working on this hour in the news?
Well, some vets are now saying, we're going to have to talk to you about this, Dr. Debbie, too, and find out your take. In the UK, pretty big thing, they're talking about do not give your dog a bone. And we'll tell you what kind of bones and why.
Well, you've been preaching that forever already, haven't you, Dr. Debbie?
I sure do. I mean, I don't think there's any place to give bones. There's better ways to do oral dental care than just saying a bone is going to take care of it.
Yeah, and people will call up and they'll say, well, I boil my bones. That doesn't
matter.
Ooh.
I've seen enough dogs that it doesn't matter if they're raw bones or cooked bones. I think it gives us a false sense that you're doing something that's safer. So no, I'm not a fan of it at all.
Okay, so if you are a bone feeder to your dogs, you give them a bone as a treat, you want to be listening up for this. Also, speaking of dangers, around this time of year, Robert Semro with 5 fall season dangers. I can't read my own handwriting.
5 fall seasonal dangers.
5 fall seasonal dangers. I can tell you a few right off the bat. I bet he's going to be talking about Halloween, because that's always a big one where they get into the candy or they get scared, see people in costumes. But we'll find out. Robert does it his own way with his Listomania coming up in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. But first, it's all about you and your pets. Let's talk to you. Toll free 1-866-405-8405. Me? Yes, you looking down at the radio. And let's go to Sunny. I like that. What a beautiful name. Hi, Sunny.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Fine. Just relaxing.
What's going on in your world?
I got a cat, like a ragdoll cat, and we've had cats that come through the window, and I've had them all taped up already, but he has got into a spraying over a year now, and I can't control him. I've tried stuff from the stores to find out what to stop him from doing, but it hasn't worked, and I was wondering why he's doing this.
Okay, so far you've tried, you said taping up the window? Like covering it up?
I taped the windows up so he wouldn't look outside anymore.
Okay.
Because he was getting involved with this female cat that would come to the door and just, and I told my wife, look, she's coming through the window and antagonizing my cat, our cat. And he got really involved with it. He's never been the same after that. It's been over a year.
Okay. And is this the only kitty you have? And does he stay inside?
I have 3 kitties, but I got one that we just brought in about 6 months ago. It belongs to a friend of ours, and we all work together. And he stays with us now for about 6 months now.
And then everybody stays inside now?
Yes, they're all inside cats.
Okay, all righty. So, Sonny, you have a challenge here because as long as that neighborhood cat is coming around, you have an ongoing stimulus for your kitty. Everything you try in the inside of the house is going to be very marginal at improving this because as long as that cat is there, that stimulus is way stronger than any kind of obstacle you can put in the way. So whatever we do, it's got to be a multi approach. So I definitely like the idea of doing things to help your cat from not seeing the kitty, but I want to start first on the outside of the house. And I'm not advocating doing anything that's going to harm this cat. So if it's a neighbor's cat, I'd go over there and say, hey, you know what? Your cat's coming over. I'm having urine spraying issues in my house. Just want you to know maybe you can keep them inside. That's one step. But there are things that you can put outside that window to help keep that kitty from choosing to come by that window. So you may end up in nice weather. You can get the motion-activated sprinklers so that when the electronic eye detects movement, it sprinkles with a sprinkler in the area, and that helps to keep feral cats or outdoor cats away. You can also do this. There's canned compressed air units that are also motion activated, and that's one way to kind of create a invisible barrier so that cat won't come around. And I'll often use, cats don't typically like citrus, so you can take orange peels, lemon peels, and kind of sprinkle that in the area, and that might be kind of a more natural way to kind of deter the kitty from there. So that's one thing. We got to keep the other kitty away. The other step is we want to try a little bit more creative ways to block your cat from seeing this kitty. And, you can close the drapes, put barriers on the windows. You can put something that might make it less attractive for your kitty to go there. So those little plastic runners that you use to preserve your carpet, so, all the traffic on it, you flip that upside down, and it's got those little nubs. If you lay that down in front of the particular area where this is happening, that's just one incentive for your kitty not to go there to help keep them away.
All right.
And make sure you do pick up some kitty pheromones, which are scent hormones that have kind of a calming effect and do help when we have multiple cat issues or anxiety issues.
You put one of them collars around his neck, and he wears it a lot to keep him calm.
Yeah. So that's definitely one way those are designed. And then the other thing is, if hopefully you have a harmonious feline inside household, but also we want to make sure you got ample resources so that anything in a cat's world that they kind of stress about creates more anxiety and feeds some of these bad behaviors and unpleasant things. So, what is a cat stress? Cats stress about not having enough food sources or water sources, or having to walk by this hallway and have another cat meow at them. So you want to make sure with 4 cats that you have at least a good 4 litter boxes. I'd prefer to see 5. But we want to have those strategically around the house and have lots of food and water sources as well. So that decreases the inside stress with your social situation. And then hopefully that will also help with, this other cat on the outside. But that's a very overwhelming drive, to want to, hey, say, this is my house. Go away from that window. This is what cats do. And instead of, picking up the phone and calling or yelling out the window, this is how he's trying to tell that cat, get lost.
Okay.
Well, good luck with that, Sonny, and give your kitties a good scratch behind the ears for me.
Okay.
Take care now. 1-866-405-8405. That's the number of the Dream Team. This healthy serving of Animal Radio is brought to you by the grain-free Red Barn Naturals canned food for dogs and cats. Don't you know it's always made in the USA with natural, functional ingredients to support your pet's optimal health? Learn more over at redbarninc.com. And thanks, Red Barn, for underwriting Animal Radio. We love you guys.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
The warm weather is here, and that means dogs are outside getting muddy, smelly, and in need of a bath. Lucy Pet Products shampoos and conditioners are made with natural ingredients. They're available in terrific scents, like apple, blueberry, tropical, coconut, lavender, and even that new puppy smell, with all profits going to help animals in need. Find them at your local pet store and at Petco stores nationwide, or go to LucyPetProducts.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
You found us. It's Animal Radio. This is the show where we celebrate the connection with our pets. And if you don't have any pets, you probably think we're kind of crazy. If you have pets, you completely understand. We all love them like family. And sometimes we actually treat them better than family. I know I treat all my animals better than any of my family, but they give me an unconditional love, and I respect them for that. You know, if they want to sleep in the middle of the bed, that's fine. I will
sleep on the corner.
I will sleep on the corner of the bed, and I think that's. I don't know about you, Lori. What do you let the animals in your bed?
Well, I told you Sunday went to her new home.
Yes.
Yesterday, so that leaves 2 dogs in the bed now. But I was sleeping with 3 bulldogs in the bed.
What are you going to do with all that room?
Do you sleep in weird positions to accommodate them?
You have to, yeah, because what kind of person are you if you're going to, disturb your dog and make them uncomfortable?
That's what I'm saying. What about you, Dr. Debbie?
You know what? I'm kind of strange. We usually don't sleep with our pets in the bedroom.
Really?
They sleep and they kind of watch, the lower level of the house. But my little terrier mix, he's actually gotten to where he's very sneaky, and he'll sneak into the bedroom while we're getting ready, and he just quietly lays in the bed, does not move, and you don't know he's there. And then, but he's like the best bed partner. He does not make you move at all. He picks the most innocuous spot that won't be a bother. So he just tries to make it comfortable for us.
So you have it all worked out there. Judy, your dog sleeps in a crate, doesn't
she? She still sleeps. She's 8 years old, and she has slept in a crate the first night I brought her home. Well, okay, no, the second night I brought her home. First night she slept.
And does she like that?
She likes it. We have our little playtime for about 15 minutes on the bed before we go to bed. She's up on the bed with me and cuddling and, giving her scratches and loving. And then I open her crate and tell her it's time to go to bed. And she gets up and goes right in there. And it's so funny. She goes in there and lays down. And I swear, in just 2 seconds, she's sound asleep.
So she loves that routine.
That's her routine.
It's her comfort spot.
It's
like her own bedroom. And she's like, thank God they went to bed.
Yeah. My cat's not so much like that. They curl up next to me on either side, and I can't roll one way or the other. And the black under my eyes, the wrinkles, that's all because I don't get sleep. And if you're like me, and I'm sure if you have cats, you may be like me, we want to hear from you today. Toll free, 1-866-405-8405. And in fact, we'll go back to the phones in just a couple of minutes. On the way, I'm very excited about this. Nicole Sullivan from Mad TV, and she was the dog walker on King of Queens. She'd walk Arthur. She's going to be joining us in just a few minutes right here on Animal Radio. Lori, what are you working on?
Cat obesity is a huge problem these days. They're just, some aren't eating as well as they should. They're packing on pounds. So how do you get your cat to increase their level of energy output? They actually did a study on this, and so we'll tell you. And interestingly enough, it involves feeding them.
Really?
Which sounds crazy, yeah. But I'll tell you about it.
See, that's my problem with my cats is I need to increase their activity level because I'm feeding them.
Yeah.
Too much.
You'll see the connection coming up here.
I'll have to wait around for that.
Animal Radio is underwritten in part by Viagen Pets, the leading provider of animal genetic preservation and cloning services. Preserve the genes of your dog or cat to extend the special bond you share with them. Learn more at www.viagenpets.com. That's VIAGEN pets.com.
Hello, Animal Radians. It's Robert Semro, your Pet World Insider, here with this week's Animal Radio list, 5 fall seasonal dangers for pets. Fall is such a great time of the year. The leaves change colors, the weather gets cooler, and families come together to enjoy the warmth of family time. Fall also brings with it several dangers to our pets that you need to know and prepare for. Let's begin with the household fall routines that many switch over to. And let's start with pools. It's always important to train your dog to avoid the pool without supervision, and in the fall, when many folks cover their pools to avoid the leaves and other fall weather changes, it can be even more important. That pool cover typically looks like any other area to run and play on, which can be extremely dangerous to your pets. Additionally, now is the time to make preparations to keep those dog houses up and off the ground to avoid cold and wet weather. If your doghouse is flat with the ground, water, snow, and other things can get in and cause all kinds of health issues for your dogs. More importantly, make sure you have prepared a proper shelter and place for your pets to get out of the elements. Finally, as you place poisons, traps, and other critter catchers out to protect your home and property for the fall, please remember to keep your pets in mind. If they're going to be able to get into that area, you must supervise them at all times. And if you're going to engage in pest control, do your best to find pet-safe offerings that give you and your pet an extra layer of safety. Next is allergens, which is pretty much on any pet dangers list regardless of the time of year. Each season has its heightened allergens and things that can exacerbate your pet's allergies. Make sure to keep them wiped down, and that includes specifically their paws. With the moisture and dampness, it's much easier for potential problem allergens to get in between their paws. So pay special attention to their paws, and if you see them obsessively grooming them, be quick to see if there's something causing that. Fleas and ticks are another problem that increases in the fall. Ticks because there are fewer potential opportunities for ticks in the fall, and they hone in on those who are still venturing out. And fleas because they breed in the spring and are in full swing as fall arrives. I'll finish up with another every season list includes this, and this one's for good reason, and that would be seasonal food items. That's right, your pet doesn't know which foods are dangerous and which foods are safe. Unfortunately, the same often goes for your guests at get-togethers, so be vigilant about what pets can get into and what your guests may be sharing with your pets. Also, know if any of the food items you're serving can be poisonous to your pet. The fall's a wonderful time to spend with your pets and family. Share your fall pet preparations on our Animal Radio Facebook page.
For over a decade, Viagen has been the leading provider of genetic preservation and cloning services of prized livestock, with thousands of satisfied clients. Now announcing Viagen Pets, providing genetic preservation and cloning services to pet parents. Consider preserving the genes of your pet to extend the special bond you share with them. Get your free information kit and special offer for Animal Radio listeners at www.viagenpets.com. That's VIAGEN Pets.com.
This is an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Fear Free. Fear Free takes the pet out of petrified and puts the treat into treatment. To learn more and find a certified Fear Free veterinary professional near you, visit fearfreepets.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. Vets are now warning people not to give their dog a bone because they say it could kill them. In fact, these are vets in the UK. They put out their warning after they say they saw dozens of dogs suffering from damage to their digestive tracts and suffering blockages as well, caused by bone splinters and larger pieces of bone that broke off in a chewing frenzy. And if you're thinking that only applies to cooked bones, which break and splinter a whole lot easier, that's not always the case. They say surgery is usually needed to remove any blockage, and in some case, the damage caused by bones is so serious that it can be fatal. The same is true for rawhide, of course. You know, if a dog swallows a large piece of that, it can become stuck and cause a blockage. Remember, rawhide, too, is not digestible. One pet food company in UK has even stopped selling natural and raw bones following a number of fatalities there, including the death of a 2-year-old miniature schnauzer after a ham knuckle bone that was a Christmas gift became lodged in his stomach. An X-ray then showed fragments of bone in his stomach and intestines, and despite a pretty long 4-hour operation, that story didn't have a happy ending. The official warning says never feed pets cooked bones, and also dispose of any bones that are left over from a meal safely and securely, so pets don't go through a trash can trying to get to them again. And they say, this warning continues, if owners feed their dog raw bones, they recommend speaking to a veterinary surgeon so that you understand the risks. And it continues, never ever give a dog rawhide. The group also does not recommend feeding cats raw bones.
Dr. Debbie, how many bones do you remove a year, would you say?
Oh, it depends, man. I had bones stuck over jaws, where they kind of get them stuck actually around their jaw, to everywhere from there down to the digestive, small intestinal tract. Broken teeth is the other thing that this story didn't even reference. That's a huge problem, where we have to have a tooth removed or have a root canal done. Yeah. That's another one.
You also don't recommend rawhide unless it's compressed? What is your
compressed? Yeah, I like the compressed rawhide, and those aren't the kind of little chopped up pieces, but it's under high pressure and it's in a bone form, and it's really only with supervision. Any of these chew items that you would be using, you'd be doing sitting there visibly watching it and taking it away when you leave the room. So.
Yeah, it would be the same as giving a child a carrot and leaving the root, right? I mean, it's a choking.
I don't have kids. I don't know, but yeah. Here's a carrot. Let's see what happens.
Well, okay. Just as with people, feline obesity is most often linked to excessive food intake and not enough exercise. And just cutting back on calories alone is not enough. There needs to be exercise involved with any weight loss program, apparently, not just for humans, but for your cat. So how do you encourage your cat to get more exercise? Researchers from the University of Illinois were interested in finding a method to maintain healthy body weight in cats. So they investigated the theory that, we people use. Smaller, more frequent meals could help to increase overall physical activity. And they applied it just to cats. And for cats, it works. Animal science researchers found that both increasing the frequency of meals fed per day, not increasing the food total, just splitting it up into smaller meals, as well as offering meals that had added water, did indeed promote more physical activity among the cats that were in this study. They say the secret is the cats were much more active during the times when they anticipated they were about to be fed soon. So also rotating between dry kibble meals and wet or canned food, they say, could also help in maintaining body weight. What they're really against is just putting out that big bowl of kibble for, usually multiple cat households to gnaw on all day. It's not a good thing. Experts recognize, of course, that the lifestyle of pet owners may not allow for multiple feedings per day, but they say, hey, if, we can go from even offering only one meal a day to just offering two, that's still a big step and would possibly promote more physical activity, meaning more weight loss for the obese kitty. Well, sometimes people buy goldfish for pets. They do. Thinking, they're inexpensive. It could be a companion. They won't have extreme health issues or high vet costs. Then there is Conquer, who is Brisbane, Australia's $500 goldfish, as he is known around town, because that's what it cost to save the $12 fish's life recently.
Wow.
When Conquer swallowed a large pebble off the bottom of his aquarium when he was trying to, scoop up a snack. His owner then had to rush the 1-year-old fish to a vet for exotic animals because Conquer began to choke on a pebble. And they say first they anesthetized him, which they did by dripping a sedative into the water until he dozed off. I would think a sleeping fish is kind of scary. But they allowed the vet to, of course, remove the stone. But you can imagine how scary it must have been, because that pebble, they say, was about 1/3 of an inch wide. And little Conquer isn't even 2 inches long. He's a pretty small goldfish. But that pebble was just too big for him to spit back out. Anyway, the entire life-saving procedure was successful, and Conquer is now back to normal. His owner says she had to do something. He's a live animal. She loves him. And that her thin little buddy would have starved to death had she done nothing.
Oh, good
I think
for
it's a
her.
cute story.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Dr. Debbie, do you work on fish at all, or do you fish those out? Source those out.
I do have a veterinarian. I farm those out. I have a veterinarian that does work on fish, and she works on things like at the aquarium. So she does this kind of thing. Yeah, and we do have the anesthetic you're referring to, and you basically bubble it through, a bubbler, and then when you're done with the surgery, you do a water change to eliminate the anesthesia-containing water, and then they wake up. It's really quite interesting and cool.
It seems like the pebbles are a pretty common substrate for fish tanks, and this could become a big big problem all the time.
Yeah. Well, and the problem would be, not just the choking thing, but if it affected their buoyancy and their ability to kind of go up and down within the tank. So that extra weight could definitely throw off their ability to do that.
I thought it was fascinating because, they mosey around the bottom of the tank all the time, picking up, trying to pick up pebbles and spitting them out, but trying to get the extra food. And I never would have thought about anesthetic drops in the water. Cute little
Great
guy.
story.
Mm-hmm. I'm Lori Brooks. Get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Fear Free. The veterinarian isn't typically thought of as your pet's favorite place to go. With Fear Free, that all changes. To learn more and find a certified Fear Free veterinary professional near you, visit fearfreepets.com.
Hi friends, this is Dr. Marty Becker, America's veterinarian. As you know, going to the vet can be a traumatic experience for your pet, but it doesn't have to be that way. In fact, vet visits can be something your pet looks forward to. Introducing Fear Free. When your veterinarian is fear-free certified, you will be assured your pet's vet visit is more free of fear, anxiety, and stress than ever before. Fear-free takes the pet out of petrified, and it puts the treat into treatment. To find a certified fear-free veterinarian near you, go to fearfreepets.com.
I believe we have Dennis on the phone. Hey, Dennis.
Hi.
How you doing?
Well, I have a dog here that's about 8 years old now. And I just can't get him to stop lifting his leg and peeing on everything in sight. The other day I got a UPS package, and before I could get there, he already had it soaked down for me.
Oh my gosh!
He's been neutered. He was
Okay.
neutered at about 8 months old. He was a rescue dog.
Now, does he mark in the house predominantly, or does he have?
He's a guard dog. He's probably 3/4, maybe more, Great Pyrenees.
Okay.
And he's a guard dog for our alpacas.
Oh, so he has a job then.
Yes, he does, and he does a great job at that, too. He's really good at it. He's a very smart dog, and coyotes come around, boy, he's right there.
Okay, so does he spend most of his time outdoors, or does he spend kind of equal inside and out?
No, all the time out. He's outside all the time.
All right, so he's marking, so he has access to like the front of the house, the porch, things like that, where he's
Right.
getting to
He
the
has
packages.
Yeah, he has access all around the property.
Wow, Dennis, the first thing that I'm going to say is that he's doing everything you're asking him to do. Is that he's an outside dog who has a job of protecting his property and keeping those other dogs, the coyotes, away. So he does that by his presence and by sending his scent around in the means of urine marking. It's going to be very hard for him to understand that that's what you want him to do in some situations, but not when the UPS guy comes around, or if something else comes onto his property that looks new, foreign, or like he has to mark his presence to that object. Does he ever urine mark on people?
No, he never does that. No.
Okay.
He's great with people. He is fantastic with people and kids especially. He just loves them.
Can you see the difficulty here is that this is exactly what he knows in his life, is that he has to kind of guard the property. I think that unless he's going to have a major change in his lifestyle, I don't know that we're going to be able to tell him, don't mark on this particular thing. Now, unless you have a certain area that we're going to completely make off limits, if that's a part of the home environment that he doesn't get around, the front porch, then there are ways where you can train him to not come near that. But if he's got free roam, then that's really tough.
That's what I thought you might be telling me, but he does a good job at what he's supposed to be doing here, what he's hired for, right?
Absolutely. So, I'd tell a UPS guy to be a little bit more selective where he puts those boxes.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
This is Brandon McMillan, host of the weekly CBS TV series Lucky Dog. I'm also the spokesperson for the 8th annual cross-country pet adoption tour, Get Your Licks on Route 66, brought to you by Fido Friendly Magazine. This tour will stop at numerous shelters from LA to Chicago to support pet adoption events across the country. Visit us online at FidoFriendly.com and click the Route 66 badge to see where the tour stops in a town near you. Swing by, and who knows, you might just find your new forever friend.
Fido Friendly Magazine presents the 8th annual month-long pet adoption tour, Get Your Licks on Route 66. On the road from September through October. Along with media sponsor Animal Radio and companion sponsors Turf Mutt and Evercare, we travel in our Mercedes Sprinter, provided by Sprinter Rentals from LA to Chicago, stopping at shelters along the way to support adoption events. Our community sponsors John Paul Pet, Zeus Pet Toys, Pet Curian, Well Pet, Tito's Vodka, and Vet's Best go along for the ride, while we bring our giant spinning wheel filled with prizes you can win. Log on to Get Your Licks on Route66.com to find out where the tour stops near you. You can help raise money for your shelter, and you might just find your new forever friend.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
It's Animal Radio, celebrating the connection with our pets. Dr. Debbie just during the commercial break telling me how much she loved King of Queens. King of Queens.
King of Queens, get it right.
I didn't think you actually watched television.
Well, there's those times when you just need to zone out and not think about medicine or veterinary work, and that show is awesome for that.
And, of course, the reason we bring that up is our guest, Nicole Sullivan, is joining us. I remember her first from Mad TV before that.
Yes.
And then King of Queens, she was a dog walker and would have to walk Arthur. Remember that?
Yeah.
Which is funny because I need a daily walk, too, now.
Oh, I should ask for some tips on how to walk some elderly men in my neighborhood.
Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
So how many animals do you have at home?
I've got 5 animals. I have 3 dogs and 2 cats.
Wow.
All rescues.
They were rescues. Were they foster failures?
Foster? I don't even know what that means, foster failures.
That means when you think you're just going to hold on to the animal for a little while and then maybe adopt it out, but you can't. You decide to keep it.
I've had a couple of those in my past, but no, I don't no longer lie to myself. I no longer try to pretend that if an animal comes in my house that they're ever leaving.
Now, you have 5 animals, and we've been talking about this a little earlier today about, at least with me, my cats sleep in bed, and I will sleep in pretty awkward positions so they're comfortable.
So you don't disturb them.
So I don't disturb them.
Let me explain to you my bed situation.
Okay.
My husband sleeps, obviously, next to me, with about 7 pillows around him because he fancies himself like an NBA player, like his joints hurt. Like he never played professional sports. He shouldn't be in that much pain. But he sleeps with pillows all around him, lest he roll into anything but a pillow at night. Uh-huh. And then on the third of the bed that's left is me, my dog, and a 21-pound cat.
21 pounds?
And maybe even a kid some days.
Now, is the cat overweight, or is that, I know some cats actually grow to that size.
Listen, I don't want to point fingers. It's odd, and I know we don't recommend this but she was a feral cat. So she's an indoor-outdoor cat, which for an indoor-outdoor cat to be overweight, you have to go out of your way. And I don't feed her more than I feed the other cat, who weighs about 11 pounds. So I don't know exactly how it's going. I don't know exactly how it's happening, but she's also a big cat. She's a big cat.
Well, how do you spoil your cat? We just had a newscast where this lady spent $500 on her goldfish to get a rock out of his mouth?
Surgery.
She obviously loves her animals.
Are you serious?
Serious, real story. So what do you do to spoil your animals?
Well, I would say the bed situation is probably the number one. My older cat is almost 21 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, she's real old, and she can't jump up to her food anymore. But she has 2 bites and then decides she's not hungry. I literally lift her up to her food probably 38 times a day. Every time I walk by, I'm like, here you go, here you go, here you go. And then I buy them, of course, my husband's like, they can eat dry food. And I'm like, no, they like, when I buy them their little broth, I buy them chicken broth at the store so they can lick it.
Does your husband ever get jealous?
No, jealous wouldn't be the right word. His patience level's lower. We had one cat that she just got old and just started peeing everywhere in the house, and it lasted a long time. I tried changing her food, I tried getting her an allergy test, I just tried a bunch of stuff, and nothing was working, putting tinfoil on things, and then finally I just was like, everywhere she peed in the house, every single place was like her spot, which was like 9 of them. I put a litter box.
I did that too. I had tinfoil all over my walls and stuff.
Oh my God. Yeah, the tinfoil, she peed right on the tinfoil. Yeah. She didn't care about the tinfoil. I put the tinfoil on the spot, she'd pee on it. And then I went and got those, tossable, kitty litter boxes, the cardboard ones. And I put one literally everywhere was her spot. and then she peed in. So then there was 9 litter boxes. 9 I'm cleaning up. And then one by one, I would eliminate a litter box one by one, and she doesn't do it anymore. We still have like probably we still have 3 litter boxes in the house, but she doesn't do it anymore.
Good job. You did a great job at kind of getting her back to the litter box. That's great.
I know. I just had to. My husband was like, "What is happening to our house?" I'm like, "I don't know." He goes, "Did you read about this somewhere?" I'm like, "No, I'm making it up. Just go with me."
Now I'm getting the feeling your husband is the dog guy.
He's more the dog guy, yes. Although the cat, the heavy-set cat, I'll call her, really likes him, and he sort of begrudgingly likes her, too. He pretends he doesn't, but they get along really well.
Well, we got you on the phone today because of our favorite organization in L.A., the Kitty Bungalow Charm School of Wayward Cats. And these guys take care of feral cats, pretty much. And they do these all kinds of wonderful events. And they're having a brand new event coming up October 15th. So I guess that would be next week.
Yes.
Okay. The Spectacular
Cat Beret.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
Okay, good. Okay, yes, Cat Beret at the Avalon Theater. Oh, it's so fun. It's a cabaret. So see what they did there? We'll add a little key. And it's singing and dancing and like legit professional can dancers and actors that you know from TV and stuff like that, and that are singing, that have beautiful voices and duets, and there's video, and it's like a whole fantastic show. And food and open bar. I mean, it's wonderful.
And are you dancing or are you singing? What do you do?
Dancing, of course. No, I'm not dancing. Like I said, they've actual cute dances. I do comedy every year, not stand up. I usually do a sketch with Fred Willard. So we're writing a new sketch for this year's show.
Very good. I'm going to put all the information, like I said, over the website. If you're in the L.A. area, head on over to it. And
it's next Saturday.
Next Saturday.
Yes.
Nicole, thanks so much for hanging with us today.
Thank you for having me on your show. I appreciate it.
If you want to learn more about what she's doing or anything you've heard on today's show and get your fix, head on over to animalradio.pet or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. It's so easy to do from the Google Play Store or the Apple iTunes Store. And we'll catch you next week for more Animal Radio right here on this fine station. Have a great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you next week.
This is Animal Radio Network.